This is the story of how I failed optimizing my body to athletic performance. Along the way, I had knee pain, back pain, foot pain, mental problems that occurred because of those injuries. I was sitting down, watching other players playing basketball while I wanted to compete with them. I had no solution. I quit.
We are here in one of the coldest weeks that I ever witnessed in central Germany. Official bodies told people to stay inside on the worst day. But yeah, I'm out here every day. I mean, I think I don't have any other choice. Most people, they just want to live comfortable lives. They sit at home and they have big dreams, and they probably never come true because of that. And yeah, I am the other type. I am think risks must be taken to advance in life, and yeah, when something gets hard, I want it even more.
Sitting around, I get angry about small things. But with all the honesty, and every one of us has to admit that at some point, I get angry about something completely different. That I was lazy, not finishing my to-do list today, or yesterday, or last week, last month, whatever. Channeling this type of anger into energy, into the process of creating something great, that is insanely hard for most people, because they don't know how. Motivational coaches tell you you can do it. They are right. But if you are following the wrong plan, or no plan, you will never be able to do it. When I fell in love with basketball, I started training like a madman. I was out there all the time. I advanced. But then, back pain.
I was in bed, and I I could not even lay down normally. I had to I had to bring my knees up like this, and it was like back pain, lumbar spine, like basically down here, and it felt terrible. It felt like I could not move ever anymore, and it was just so strong, this pain. It almost killed me, and I thought, like, when can I train again? Like, when will I go back? When will I be able to train again? And yeah, it was just horrible. And I recovered by waiting. Like, I did not have the tools. It took a long time, like half a year or something, until I was completely pain-free. Of course, I played basketball again after a couple of weeks, I would say, but back pain came back, and yeah. Then, when I recovered, I had massive knee problems. I went to multiple doctors again. They gave me some medication, and just as with the back pain, they told me stop practicing for 2 or 3 weeks. I did. I felt okay, but problems came back. And of course they came back, and now I know why. I think being my own coach would have been great. I would have been like the things I know now. If I knew them when I was a young athlete, together with my incredible work ethic, it would have been amazing. I met a great friend. Fabian is his name. He's a doctor. We lived together for 5 years in my early 20s, and we were seriously starting to rebuild my body. Like I had absolutely broken feet. I had only mediocre mind-body connection, and yeah, here's what happened.
Welcome to training camp Denmark, Norway, North Pole.
There have been a couple of principles that I misunderstood completely, or let's better say, I did not respect them. Let's start with the feet. I used to play basketball in those thick and completely unnatural shoes, and not only that, I was doing everything in those shoes. Doing sprinting, doing my mobility, doing running in the woods, doing plyometrics, everything. Why? Well, my thoughts made absolute sense. If I play my games in those shoes, I should train everything in those shoes to get better adaptation with them. What was wrong? Your body does not adapt well to things that do big damage to you. Of course, the body works against it and adapts to lower the damage. But in sports, especially in pro sports, we are talking about optimization all the way. So the real optimization would be to look at the foot and see what it is. It is the foundation of our body. It is in contact with the ground more than 99% of our time, unless we are not acrobats or something like that. So it is our number one feedback mechanism. Have you ever hit your big toe against something? It hurts really bad. Why? Millions of nerve endings there. They are all over the downside of your foot for a reason. They provide feedback, and your body is constantly trying to align your posture with that. Running around in shoes all day shuts off these feedback mechanisms. Let's not forget that special shoes give us a lot of bonus depending on the sport. Look at track and field spikes, for example, football shoes, and all other sport-specific things. Doing those sports barefoot, in most cases, will give us a decrease in performance for sure. But we have to work against that during the rest of our time. Working out barefoot or in barefoot shoes sometimes, doing other work like weightlifting or sprinting, or even your sport during practice, that all helps. And also, look at your free time. This is a massive factor. Give your feet more freedom.
These are the shoes. My winter shoes.
The most neglected body part in terms of movement is, by a landslide, the foot. It is your foundation. For most people, 100% of the time, this is the only connection to the ground. Millions of neurological cells in it to give you feedback on your movements, yet we care so little about it. And on top of that, we put our feet into shoes, mostly awful shoes, with thick cushions, high heels. And no, I'm not talking about the women's shoes. Even most sneakers and sports shoes, they have higher heels than toes. With these things together, with no focus on the feet, we destroy our feedback mechanisms for our foundation down there. We need to regain that. We need to regain that back as soon as possible. First of all, get rid of the shoes and the socks too. Stand there. How do you feel? Look, there is an arch. And now what I want you to do is try to make this arch as big as possible. Try to really grip the floor with your feet, with your toes, and bring the toes closer to the heels. And with that, the arch gets bigger and relaxed. You might get cramps on your foot, but that's okay. Just relax, stretch into it, go back into it again. But you have to learn gripping into the floor. You can also train by gripping objects, your socks, towels, but definitely bring back your feedback mechanisms and move around barefoot more as soon as it's possible for you, especially in your apartment at home. When I started doing that and worked on some other things down there too, it felt like being reborn. I always had kind of a good feeling for my body, like feeling what muscle is activating when I do a certain movement. And here it was absolutely mind-blowing to feel the differences between certain muscles in one toe. The diversity of what you can do with one foot is just incredible. First thing I learned was that your foot stabilizes like a tripod. On the MTP joint, so the base of your big toe, on the outside edge with the main point on the head of the fifth metatarsal, and on your heel. So you have 3 arches that stabilize your foot. The biggest one being the one between the base of your big toe and your heel. This is where to start. By properly gripping your feet, you can tighten this arch, which then creates an inward rotation in your shin. And this is how your body works. It creates torque, which loads kinetic force into your tendons and muscles. Trust me, millions of years of evolution perfected this system. The balance of nerve cells, muscles, tendons that create movements, explosive movements if you train them.
From there, I started to look at my body as a whole thing. As soon as I learned working on getting more mind-body connection, on understanding more why certain body parts move the way they do, my knee pain vanished, my back pain was gone. I was able to build up on this.
Let's have a look at the knee. Have you ever heard that your knee should not go past the toes in an exercise? Where is that from? Seriously, pause a football or a basketball game, knees are constantly in front of your toes in sports. The biggest problem is that we only think linear. We are born like that. Time, distance. We always want to split up complex things into terms that are easy to understand or to measure. Minutes, miles, meters, even your school grades. This is a good thing. It comes with a lot of benefits, but looking into something organic that way, that is a dead end. Nature is not linear. Where are straight lines in nature? It's all rounded, spiraled, waves. It's weird sometimes. From the surface, you see a body with big muscles that goes in horizontal force while sprinting or vertical force, like jumping. That looks pretty straight, and we are absolutely right when we are saying that the big muscles push us horizontally or vertically. But if we take a closer look, every jump and every acceleration step initiates with torque, with spinal movements within the tiniest of our joints and ligaments. This is so disregarded in today's training. That's why we have an epidemic of injuries. Training technology skyrockets in terms of getting someone stronger, but only horizontal and vertical, sometimes lateral in team sports. But we focus so little on rotation, on the small pieces of the puzzle that make such a difference. The knee is one of the most simple joints in our body. It can only do one movement, yet as we learned, it takes a lot of rotation from the lower leg and is the transmission cord for that force. By design, that makes it pretty good absorbing a lot of nonlinear movement. When the knee is in pain, that means you already took it way too far. Actually, the knee is not very prone to pain and injury from a biomechanic point of view, as long as we don't have external damage coming into it. But we mess up our feet and our movements so much that it gets that secondary damage all the time. We destroy feedback mechanisms in our feet, and we create weak links inside of our body parts that create rotation, and then the pressure rises because of heavy traditional weight training and the sport itself, and that destroys the knee. In the first years, me coaching professional track and field athletes or semi-professional youth athletes, I witnessed that when we went to regional competitions, they are fairly, there's a fairly good level here in Germany, in that area where I live. Some of the younger ones that I saw here 5 or 6 years ago, they are professional athletes now. But when I was there, I wondered, because about a quarter of those kids during the competitions, they had serious injury problems. They could not participate in their events at a young age. I'm talking about like 14, 15, 16 years. And I would say half of the others, or half of the total number of athletes, also had like minor problems that, sometimes my calf tweaks a little bit, my back hurts, but they were in the competitions, they participated, but they had problems. And only 25% were like, okay, no problems. So that number is, to me, insanely high. I mean, imagine 75% of young kids in a professional track and field competition, and they are not able to participate the way they would be if they would be healthy, and that's a problem to me. "30 years ago, we had a lot less of a sports scientific world. The best basketball players were playing basketball most of the time, the best football players were playing football most of the time, and so on. They moved on all planes, with rotation, and they ended up fairly well. Of course, it was a boost when some of them started to do well-designed weight training or speed strength training plans, like Michael Jordan, for example. But while developing more and more training methods, we forgot some of the important parts. The sensory motor system, the rotation, the mind-body connection. Those were supporting pillars of the sports performance of former athletes. Yes, they probably only trained them by accident, but with our new technology and research, we erased or at least massively decreased those things in our practice. That's why we have ACL, MCL tears everywhere, back spasms, foot pain. And because of an increase in sport-specific methods in youth sports, we get those incidents at an earlier age more often. Our spine represents fluidity, oscillating, rotating. These things will keep you healthy forever. I was not moving my spine intentionally. I just used it to play basketball, train certain specific movements, and that's it. I adapted to it. It was not fluid anymore. It was only optimized to serve my primary movements. Shooting the basketball, jumping. Only minimal full rotation and oscillation was involved. With that, it was determined to cause pain sooner or later. This is one of the most clear things to me. If you take care of your spine a little bit every day, it will pay off numerous times in the long run. It will stay fluid even if you move in specific ways during your technical training in your sport. Doing spinal mobility is like a reset that you can do in the morning after you wake up, in the evening before you go to bed, and during your daily life, whenever you feel like. I think only in a couple of years I will reach my prime in terms of athleticism. Like, I always wanted to run a 100 meters sub 11 seconds, and I was close doing that. I mean, 11:27 is my best, but I think I will be able to do that in 2 or 3 years just because of the development of my own training process, and I still try out a lot of things like I always did, and it feels really good in the last few years. The athletes I train with benefit extremely from what I learned. They are bulletproof. In many years of training, we had not a single muscle tear and only very few injuries in total. In my own lane, I determine the speed limit.